All right, now here we have an input field or a control for selecting a contact method. Let me tap this control. On iOS, you can see a panel appearing from the bottom of the screen where we can select an item. Done. And on Android, this is how it works. So tap. Now we get a pop-up with a list of items. And Windows is similar. So let's see how we can use a picker. Back in our main page, I'm going to add a picker element. Now this picker has a property called items, which is a list of strings. We can add items to this list both in XAML and in code behind. And I'm going to show you both ways. Let's start with XAML. So I'm going to use property element syntax, picker.items. Now, if you're working with a small list of items that do not have a numeric representation, they're just strings you want to hard code, then you can add them here. So here I want to add 2 strings to this list. In XAML, to use a string, we use x:string. So this element belongs to Microsoft XAML, and that's why it's prefixed with x. Now here I'm going to add SMS and another item, email. And finally, let's give this picker a title, contact method. Now for this demo, I'm going to temporarily set a background color here. Look at the result. You can see the picker expands to fill its container, and this looks really weird. But in most real-world applications, we don't have just a picker on a page. Most of the time, it's part of a stack layout or a table view, which you're going to learn about later in this section. So back here, if I put this in a stack layout, like this, it will no longer expand to fill the container. Now back here, I'm going to remove this background color. Here we have an event called selected index changed. Let's handle this event. So when we select an item from this picker, I want to display an alert. Display alert selection. Now for the message, I want to display the currently selected item. You can see that in this event handler, our event args does not carry any information about the currently selected item. So how do we get it? First, we need to give this picker a name. Xname contact methods. Now back in the code behind, this contact methods has a property called items, which is an list of strings. So here we can use an index, contact methods dot selected index. And this will give us the currently selected item. So var contact method. Now we can display this in an alert. So contact method. Okay. Let's test the application. So I'm going to tap this, select SMS, done. And here's our alert. Now, what if instead of working with the hard-coded list of strings, we want to work with complex objects? Maybe these objects are stored locally in a database on the device, or perhaps we might want to call a remote service to get these objects. Then we need to use code behind. So I'm going to remove these hard-coded items here. Now in the code behind, first I'm going to create a class, public class contact method. I'm going to give it 2 properties, ID and name. Now let's say these contact methods are stored either locally in a database on the device, or we're going to call a remote service to get them. Where they are stored is implementation detail and it doesn't matter. So I'm going to create a method here. Private list of contact method. And I'm going to call it get contact methods. This method is responsible for returning contact methods. Where they are stored, it doesn't matter. So for now, I'm just going to hard code a list of contact methods. Return new list of contact method. And here I'm going to add two objects, new contact method, ID1 and name SMS. I'm going to duplicate this. And for the second one, I'm going to use email with the ID 2. Now, in the constructor, we're going to get these contact methods and add them to the items property of our picker. So for each var method in get contact methods, picker dot items dot add method dot name. Note that because this items property is a list of strings, we still need to add a string to this list. So we cannot add the whole object. But I'm going to show you how to access the ID of the currently selected contact method. So here we populate our picker. Now in selected index changed handler, I'm going to rename this variable to name. So this is the name of the currently selected contact method. Now to get the ID for this contact method, we can call get contact methods again. And then I'm going to use link. So I'm going to filter this list, get a single contact method with this name. So cm goes to cm.name equals name. This would give us the whole contact method object. And now if I'm interested in ID, I can simply access it here. Now, a side note, for performance reasons, it's better to store the result of getContext method in a private field so we don't have to call this method twice. So I'm going to define a private iList of contact method and call it underline contact methods. Now in the constructor, I'm going to set this private field to get contact methods, then iterate over this field, contact methods, and also in selected index changed handler, I'm going to replace the call to get contact methods with our private field. So this is how we work with pickers. Pickers are useful when you're working with a small list of items. If you're dealing with a large list of items, it's better to navigate the user to a second page with a list view. And that's what I'm going to show you later in this section. Next, we're going to look at date and time pickers.